right. Well, Leva, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Alice Weekly. I feel like every time we talk, it's always like over Zoom, so it's good to see you in person.
Yes, in person. Yes.
Well, we have Southern Charm, Southern Hospitality, back to back. So excited. How are you feeling about this?
Good. I'm excited. I think they're both like stellar seasons, you know, for different reasons. But I'm excited as a viewer also and fan of Bravo that like we get these shows in December and January when like I want to watch all the TV.
Exactly.
And like how lucky on the back end that we get to air on those months. So yeah, I'm super excited.
That'd be so great. Let's start with Southern Charm since that is premiering first. How did you feel about going into this season after last season?
So this season was interesting because it's kind of like there's some new people and you know 2 of them used to work for me at Republic. So that was, you know, it's an interesting pivot. But like I was saying in our other interview, it was just like Charleston's so small that it all just bleeds into each other. You know, it's sort of like it doesn't matter. It's sort of what life stage you're in. So it's like there are the moms and the, you know, that life stage, and then there's like the people who are out all the time, and the people who are out all the time are the people on these shows, right? So they're all sort of friends. Like it's like Whitney and Joe have this like friendship where they're together all the time, you know, definitely an age gap, but they're like, after the last day of filming on Charm, we were all out for dinner and I was at the table with Austin and Joe picks up, Whitney picks up the phone and he's like, hey, and then Austin's like, is he talking to a girl? It's like, do you think there's a girl coming? I was like, no, he's talking to Joe. And Joe's leaving work early and doesn't know I'm at this table. And so he was like, and I was like, don't say anything because Whitney is not clocking. But like, he's going to leave work early, come meet up with Whitney and be like, oh, boss, you know? So that's the kind of funny stuff that happens.
Really
and of
funny.
course he did show up and I was like, aren't you supposed to be at work? You know? And he's like, oh, it's really slow. You know?
That's so funny. Yeah. Is it weird though, like you said, because 2 of the people used to work for you, and now is it strange to have to be in a friendship setting with them? With like,
I mean, so Molly I've been friends with forever.
Right, okay.
Molly was sort of like, she was single, she was, you know, I've been friends with Molly since, I don't even know, I feel like 10, 15 years. So she was just like in a weird stage. She'd broken up with a boyfriend. I think, I don't know if she'd moved back or some sort of stage. And I was like, come host us up front at Republic. Like you'll meet people, you'll get out. It won't feel like you're going out, but you'll feel like you went out. You know what I mean? I was like, just come work for a bit. And she's kind of quirky and odd and introverted. And I was like, just come work the front. It'll get you out of your like, you know, so that was, she was already my friend, and then she worked for a bit, and then she was kind of like, I'm good, you know, like that's a lot. And Sally, I just didn't know, you know, so Sally, I only knew her from working up front, and I was like, oh, who's this pretty girl? And then dating Joe, and then it was like a lot of drama. And I was like, let's get her out of here. You know what I mean? Not that she was fired or anything, and she has like a really serious day job, but I was just like, not for me here.
Don't need the drama.
But she's, you know, age-wise, I feel like already was like I said, they're all sort of like in this 10-year gap of like the early 20s and up to the early 30s. And it's just like everyone hangs out, you know? So it made sense that she knew everyone and was already sort of intermingled.
Yeah, it seems like based on my conversations with Madison and Taylor, she comes in and really kind of stirs the pot. And Madison said it seems like she really does have it out for Taylor.
It does seem like she has it out for Taylor. I definitely think, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, you see on the trailer, I mean, she used to date Gaston. And obviously we saw that on Hospitality where I think there was something brewing while she was dating Joe. So I think she's kind of like that girl that says she doesn't want drama, but like, there's just, she lives in drama. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, you got to make different choices if you don't want the drama. You know what I mean? And I specifically remember Taylor being at Republic, Shep showing up for some event we had, and I was like chatting with Shep and laughing about something, and then Taylor came out and Taylor was dating another guy that Sally now dates, at the time. And I was like, that guy's drama. She's like, no, he seems so nice. And then Sally walks in to talk to Joe, and Taylor comes up to me and she's like, do you know that girl slept with Shep? And I was like, Joe's girlfriend? And she was like, yeah, she did. So like already I was like, oh my, there's so much.
Like you said, Charleston is a very small town.
Such a small town. And I remember being mad about that. And also, you know, she was hanging out with a guy that you guys see Sally dates. So
Okay.
like, it's like they're just tradesies. Like
Yeah.
it's inevitable. I was like, you guys will never get along.
Yeah.
Just be polite. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's like they kept trying to be like, we can be friends. I'm
Sure.
like, you can. It's like primally not possible for you guys to be friends.
You cannot coexist.
Yeah, you cannot coexist. Just like you go over there and
Yeah.
you go over there and we'll all be good. Like stop trying to coexist. So,
What do
yeah.
you make of Taylor and Gaston? Because obviously they've been together for over a year. She
Yeah.
said that they're thinking about moving in together.
Yeah.
You know, taking these
So
next
I was
steps.
skeptical because Gaston has dated, I've met a lot of girls that Gaston's dated, and he's always been very polite. He's like, he's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
I've seen him, you know, with different girls, and I've never had a bad thing to say about him. You know, he's always, hi, Leva, how are you? Like, never crazy or drunk in his spaces. Like, always really like a gentleman, but always dating someone different.
Sure.
You know? So when he was dating Taylor, I was like, oh, no, you know, but they're holding, like, they've been dating for a long time.
Sure.
I haven't heard anything negative.
Yeah.
Except for from Sally.
Sure.
Who also dated him for a long time.
course, yeah.
Well, for her, I guess, dated for a long time. I think she was very
Very
more into it than he was, and that's where the strife
Got
begins.
it. Okay.
Not where it ends, but that's where
That's where it begins.
Yeah.
What do you think of Taylor kind of setting these boundaries with Shep this season? She
I'm
blocked him.
so
you know,
proud of
yeah.
her. Like, and I told, and in the beginning of the season, she came in, and remember, we're coming off of like, you know, it had been a year of us sort of looking at her and Austin sideways. You know, I was very close with Olivia and very close with Taylor. Those were like my two really
Yeah.
close people. So to see that divide in the friendship and to see it all fall out was like really hard for me. But I also know that Taylor's young and Taylor was going through a lot. And I genuinely think that Taylor has a good heart and is like a really good girl. I just think she made some poor decisions.
Sure.
And you can't hold people to that. We've all made poor
Yeah.
decisions,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So I think her coming into like the friend group again and then add Sally to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was really hard on her. So and then the loss of her brother, I was just like, whatever you go through, Taylor, like I'm going to be next to you because I also know this year is hard and all of this is hard. And I know, and I'm so proud of you for setting boundaries because I said that to her last year. I was like, if you start to set boundaries, these things will not happen.
Sure.
You know, had you set a boundary with Austin, had you set a boundary, you know what I mean? Like boundaries will keep you safe and like keep you true to the character that you want to keep, right? It's like setting boundaries because the mistakes happen when you're vulnerable.
Of course, yeah.
Right?
No,
and
definitely.
so I said that to her and she just wasn't like hearing it or ready to hear it. And this year she really like steps up
Yeah.
and makes hard decisions and sometimes like she speaks or sets a boundary that like people don't like. Like everyone doesn't like because they're used to Taylor just letting everyone say what they want to say. She's kind of like, she just lets things like roll off her. But this year she's like, no, that hurt my feelings. Or no, I'm not doing that. Or that doesn't serve me.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not going to do what's best for the group. And I was like, good
for her.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show some growth.
Yeah,
definitely.
big time. Like
Yeah.
she's getting her voice. She's showing some growth. It's not easy to tell people when your feelings are hurt or like set like these like deep lines in this like sand.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's so yeah, I was like, girl, whatever you got to do,
Yeah.
like you're doing it right. I'm right behind you. Even if you're in the wrong, you got me with you. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm proud of her. I think you'll see a lot of growth from her, from Shep. I think you'll see a lot of vulnerability with Madison. She had a really rough year.
Yeah.
And I was like, Madison, can you open up? You know what I mean? Like I
Sure.
always found it with Madison, it was like, you know, I'm
a
like,
little bit of a
just,
wall.
yeah. Like I think she just tries to put a tough, like front up.
Sure, yeah.
And I was like, sometimes that makes people like not want to be close to you because it feels like you go, and I said to her, I was like, it's very frustrating because I feel like you go from sad to mad really fast.
Yeah.
So can we stay in sad and like identify sad or hurt before we get to mad?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think the girls had some big conversations and I hope that all of that airs because I'm proud of the girls.
Yeah.
Even though like it was tricky and there was a lot of Sally and Taylor
course,
and like
yeah.
craziness, but I think that I'm proud of the girls and our growth and getting through some major
things,
trust
yeah.
stuff and major like life stuff that
Yeah.
hit some different people.
Were you
know?
disappointed that Olivia wasn't there to have these tough conversations?
Of course, I
Yeah.
love Olivia, and I
Yeah.
think she's an integral part of the group and a friend. a good friend of mine. And so like, yeah, it was sad to not see her there. I even think Taylor missed her. You know?
Taylor said that Olivia has reached out, and it seems like maybe they can start getting things back on track.
Yeah. I think once you let sort of like the emotions sort of like go down and you know, everyone chiming in, like for that to go away, then they could have a really good, honest conversation. I know that those two like loved each other. So it was really hard for me to like sit on the sidelines and be like, Taylor, no. If you don't tell the truth right now, it's like, well, you're not coming back from it. You know what I mean? And it was really hard for me to like watch the train wreck. And I mean, obviously I think that it was hard, but I think Olivia's also like on to new things and engaged and and like really happy and doing a lot of stuff to spread awareness about her brother's illness. And so really proud of her and stuff, but you never know. We did miss her.
Yeah, I'm sure. Definitely. It seems like the guys have some tough conversations as well.
I think the guys have some grown-up conversations.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that they're calling each other out on like a little bit of their shit, but also learning that, you know, I think sometimes the guys will just pile on. You know, the two, it's like this threesome, that two pile on one, two pile on one. And I think for the first time I'm hoping that they realize that like, you've all been there.
Yes.
You know, like, so let's give each other some grace.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it was hard for me to see the guys kind of ice Shep out, because I was like, Shep was the guy that like, no matter what state you're in, like he's still gonna give you like his hat.
Sure.
He's still gonna give you like the shirt off his back. Like that's his baseline personality. I think he's a really good-hearted person. I think that he's a little tortured and flawed like we all are, but I think that he's genuinely a good-hearted person, and I think he's really into like loyalty of friendship. I think he lets actually people get away with a lot. As friends.
We see with Austin and Taylor
I think he really lets people get away with a lot because he's just like, because we're friends. You know, we're friends. And so I think when the guys kind of like iced him out a bit, and obviously maybe that was their version of tough love. I don't know. I don't know how that conversation went, but it was hard to watch because I was like, no. This is the one guy that was like there for you guys.
Sure,
you guys went through that stuff too, you know? But I think that they worked it out on the end, like the back end.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
It seems like Austin and Craig have a lot of differences as well, especially when it comes to Craig's maybe image now that he is, you know, found a lot of success within his businesses. Have you noticed a change in Craig?
Yeah, I've noticed a change in Craig for years. You know, I sort of post Naomi and like when he started to really buckle down and maybe drink less, and like he was the youngest of the crew, right? So he was like doing his like Southern hospitality messiness, right? Like he was really young.
Yeah, of course.
So he's, I think when he got himself together, and I actually talked about this, and it, you know, you never saw it the year that Naomi was there, and I was like, I think it's less about Naomi and more about you don't know who you are in this friend group anymore. And I think you're struggling with like work and the business and who you are friendship wise. Like I think, but it wasn't like resonating with him. And I think it took some time for him to sort of realize. And I think it's taking time for him to find that sweet spot where it's like, we don't need to be running for mayor, you know, like we can also be, it's okay to have a business and do things and make mistakes and have fun and let loose, you know, like I fall in a bush this year, like it's fine, you know, like my image is, you know, whatever. It's just like, we're all human, we're all people. I think that the Bravo viewer is the best kind of viewer because they always sort of root for us like when we're down, you know what I mean? And they're always like, I think that they know they're not watching a movie. They know that they're watching like real people, and these real people are going to make mistakes and try to figure it out. And so I think that like we're sort of in the best hands. You know, there might be some visceral online, but generally I think we're always in good hands with the fans. And I think that Craig also is like, it's a new stage, the figuring out of all of this. And Craig is the guy that like, I always say like, he wants the fairy tale and he wants this like version of perfection, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a guy who would be like, can we watch Frozen or like whatever? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Or like some romantic movie that my husband would rather like poke his eyes out than to watch. But like, he's a guy, and I'm like, it doesn't always work out exactly that way. And that's like, okay. And I think Craig is also realizing that, you know, his idea of a businessman is not like, I'm going to wear a suit and I'm going to do, you know, and I'm going to act this way and I'm going to be a perfect this. It's like, no, it's going to be your way. And you can also keep your friends, you know, and I think it's cool for people to watch because I've seen people do that. I've seen people like they get married and they no longer have single friends. They're only friends with married people. And I'm like, ew, what's wrong with you? And I have friends like that. And I'll call them out and I'll be like, that's not cool. She's not married now. She can't come to our stuff.
Right, totally.
Like, that's not cool.
People have kids and things like that.
Like you find her threatening because she's not married. Well, be more secure in your marriage. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like stuff like that where I'm just like, we can't abandon our friends because they're not in the same life stage. They're our friends. You know what I mean? Like, so she's divorced or he's divorced or he's recovering from whatever. Like, they're your friends. That's the point of friendship, is you roll when they're down, you roll when they're up, you know, and you trust them.
Totally.
You trust that I think people get so fearful that if someone's in a bad stage, it like rubs off on them. I'm like, that's in your mind.
Right.
You know, my best person, my husband could be going through something. My child could be, you know, going through something. That doesn't like put a stain on me. You know what I mean? Like that's what's beautiful about humans.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to rub off on us. It actually like I think does the opposite, you know?
Totally.
So I think that, you know, Craig's learning that. But it's tricky because he, you know, it's very different when you have a lot to lose.
It is.
To show up for people.
Sure.
It's easy to show up for people when you got nothing, right? It's like, you know, but I think when you got a lot to lose, to show up for people is a very different decision.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Hopefully he figures it out by the end of
you
this
guys will see
season.
all that. And I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the boys have these really grown up, deep conversations. And it's like this, like, thing, this like kind of cancer that's been like, like in their friendship. And I'm like, I am so tired of you and Shep fighting.
Right.
You know,
Figure it out.
Figure it out. I'm so sick of this. But like, I feel like they finally got to like
some sort of understanding.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's a grown charm.
Okay.
I think it's complicated charm, but I think there's some major growth. I'm really proud of Shep this year. I think he's done a lot of growing. And I'm proud of Austin too. Like this is weird that I'm saying this about the boys. Like, who am I? But I don't know. I think they're kind of grown this year. They've done a lot, and it was kind of cool. I was like, oh, good job, guys.
Good job.
You know, having the real conversations instead of the fake ones.
Sure, yeah.
Or just like the surface stuff and just going from, you know, frustrated to like storming off, which don't get me wrong, I'm sure Craig stormed off about 55 times
Of course, it wouldn't be a season.
But it wouldn't be a season without a Craig storm off. But I do think they have some pretty good conversations, as I do think the girls do. And I think that there's a lot of friend stuff. It's not like one problem. I feel like last year was so much like just the Taylor and Austin of it all. Yeah. But I feel like this year there's just so many things.
Yeah, it spreads evenly. Yeah. Which I like.
Yeah. Which I think some of us are not privy to. It's like I'm not fully privy to exactly what went on with the guys. I didn't witness it all, right? Yeah. And so like all of us are in these little pockets of things, which I think, you know, we had dinner at the last night that we were filming, and Austin and I were talking about something, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know you guys. Like, and then he was saying something about something that had gone on with me and somebody, and he was like, oh, I didn't even know. And I was like, how weird.
Yeah, how weird.
Like, you're going to be,
yes, like you're going to be watching it as a fan as well.
Like finding out we were two grown-up friends that didn't share our argument, and we worked it out. Like, we're big, we're adults now. Yeah, like the whole group was not involved in everything. Yeah. The whole group was involved in a lot, but it wasn't everything.
Okay.
Which is kind of different for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we do see in the first episode that they're talking about Austin's girlfriend.
Yes.
And you say that, you know, I've heard that Austin was dating a bunch of other people when he was dating Audrey.
Yes, I was kind of an asshole.
I
was kind of an asshole, yeah. But listen, I'm coming off of Austin and Taylor, and I was disappointed in him. And Olivia's a good friend of mine, and like that was just all, I was mad at him, you know, and I never really got to say my piece. I feel like I'm like Sheena on Scandal, like, what about how I feel, you know? But I kind of was like, what about how I feel? I set you up with her, and you didn't do right by her, because I did.
Sure.
I set them up, you know what I mean? And so I was kind of mad at him. And I had a rough couple of years with Austin, but I love Audrey. She's like lovely. And, I was just coming off how I felt about him. And, don't get me wrong. I think that they were dating for some time, but nobody jumps into like a serious relationship. It takes some time to get there, right?
Yeah.
We all date different people and stuff, and then we kind of buckle down. So you'll get sort of the rest of that.
Okay.
I think the next episode where
it all comes to a head.
Because God forbid I should just say something which I thought was under my breath, but clearly it never is.
It never is.
Yeah.
You mentioned Naomi before, and I know that the two of you got together recently.
Yes.
Danny got together. Do you think that they missed the show at all?
I think that they do and they don't.
Sure.
Like, I think that the show takes a real emotional toll, right? Because it's not like normal life where you get to just have an argument and settle the argument. Then you have to rehash the argument, or you have to pause the argument because you just have to like do right by the show. So it's like, I really want to talk to you about this, but I have to wait.
Right. Yeah.
Till we go
6 months from now.
6 months for a reunion. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
it's like, it can feel a little toxic. I think, and I've said this 100 times, that I, for example, like I work with my husband, my business has a lot of drama, so I'm very good at like compartmentalizing things and being like, that was that, it's going to go in this file and it's going to stay there. So I think I'm able to put it up, put it aside, and just move on. And I think a lot of people don't have the tools to do that, and it can really wear on them, like in every way. So yeah, I do think that they miss this is a group of friends. It's like a great time. We have, and I hope that you see a lot of that this year. Like, we had a lot of fun times, but I think they miss that. But I don't think they necessarily miss the other side of. It's a little tricky, and they're both doing really well. Like Naomi is doing wonderfully. Danny, I was just at her wedding.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
her little son is just adorable. He's just like a fluffier version. It's like a little Danny face inside, like a little pudgy.
That's so funny.
I'm like, look at it, it's like Danny right in the middle. It's so cute. That
is really
and he has
cute.
a temperament. Like, he's so sweet.
Okay.
She's one of the nicest people I know. And I was just like at her wedding, sitting there and being like, she just looks so happy.
Sure.
I'm so happy. And me and Naomi were like, we're so happy for our friend.
That's great. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
yeah, it's all good in
It's
the
all
hood
good.
in Charleston.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. They're doing great.
Good.
So
Somebody that's probably not doing great is JT.
Yeah.
What did you make of him announcing that he was quitting the show?
No one knew.
Okay.
No one knew. It was like, JT is so chaotic, which I think makes for great TV, but like, it's not a show.
Yeah.
He's a chaotic person, and he kind of has no chill. It's like, if you say something to JT, I'm like, can you process it? Could you? Because I have that problem sometimes if I'm like activated or triggered. It's like it goes straight from brain to mouth, and it's like I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I'm like, can we give it a minute, JT? But he's so reactive, and I think he tells himself he's not. Like, I think he thinks he's like not coming from a place of reaction. I'm like, everything you do is reactive.
Right.
Like, you live in reaction. Again, I think JT's a good guy. But he gets a lot of accusations this year. And so I, to date, don't know what any of that is.
Sure.
And I think that probably took a bit of a toll on him. Be it he said it, he's probably humiliated. And if he didn't, it's probably really hard to sort of like live with, your friends sort of just being like, you said that, and everyone believing it.
Sure.
And all I can say is I tried to like do right by him and just like make sure that he had his side of the story, or like he was aware. Because it sucks when like, it's never good to be in a friend group where somebody says something about you, or says you're doing something or saying something, and everyone believes it.
Sure.
And no one hears you out. You know what I mean? Which, and I think the Vanita and JT of it all was complicated. And I think that wore on him too. And wore on Vanita. And I think they're lovely together, but I don't know what happened. And last I spoke to JT, he was like very zen. He was just like, it will be what it will be.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, but you can't run away from your
can't run-
problems.
right,
You can't
you
just run away.
yeah, you
like,
gotta
where
show
are you,
up.
on some mountain? Like, where are you? Are you in America? Like, I don't know.
where's
He's like
JT?
an elusive character, Like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know. I think post-accident, there was a lot, like he came in this year like with a lot, you know. He wasn't drinking or anything, but I think he's an intense dude, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the package.
Okay.
You know,
right,
there's a lot of
there's a lot
person
there.
in the small package. But I do enjoy JT. I wish him the best. I wish he would, you know, come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
he shows up for a reunion.
Yeah, like I hope I told him, I was like, the last thing you want to do is just walk away. Like, you're all about be a man,
sure,
you know,
right.
and like be, you know, and don't lose your voice, and like it'll all wash out. Like it will all be fine, but you just gotta stay for it to be fine. Of
course,
right?
totally.
So like, I don't know. Nobody really knows. It just was like, that's so JT style though.
Right.
It's
we'll
so
have to wait
JT
and see,
style. Like just come and left, like out of nowhere, no consultation with anyone. Like, what are you doing?
Well, again, like hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in a month, less than a month, we have Southern Hospitality coming back, season 3.
Yes.
It looks so good.
Yes.
The trailer looks amazing. What was your reaction when you saw the Maddie and Joe Vegas wedding?
I mean, I didn't know any better. Had they not told me, I would have thought it was like a hoax.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But in real time, of course, they came home and they were like, Leva, like separately. And I was like, did you tell your mother? It's like, I don't want to know.
Okay.
I don't want this hot potato. I know your mom's. Like,
Sure.
did you tell your mom? And of course, Maddie was like, not yet.
Wait, so
and Joe was like, I told her immediately, you know.
So is this legit wedding?
I mean, like I said, I mean, it's not, nothing's contrived or fake on that show, but yeah, it was definitely a real ceremony.
A real ceremony.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So we can call them husband and wife?
I mean, I don't, but I can't do that. It's like not physically possible for me. But yeah, yeah, it was weird, and I had a lot of feelings about it. I mean, I tried to set them up in the first place.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I thought Joe was such a catch when I first hired him, and Maddie was like, no, he's like always wants to be shirtless. I don't know. But I also think Joe's just always like loved her and been safe for her. And I was like, I remember we were at BravoCon, and she was like looking at me, and she's like, I want the guy that's gonna like give me the life and support me and like let me accomplish my dreams and like be my hype man. And then she like looked at my ring and she's like, and get me one of those and blah, blah, blah. And I was there with my good friend Lori, and we both looked at her and we were like, marry the nice guy. I was like, you marry the nice guy, you marry your friend, you marry the guy that like really is like rooting for you. You don't marry that, the Trevor, you know, like you don't marry that guy, but and she was like, well, and I was like, and with that guy who is your friend, there can be so much passion. There can be so much, like, people think like, oh, like you just, no, there can be that passion. You just have to like allow it. You know, you have to reframe what what you find attractive in that chemistry. And I was like, I always say, like, you know, for my husband, I felt like it was like the long game sexy. You know what I mean? Like, not that he's not a hunk and all the things, but he wasn't like a games guy.
Yeah.
He didn't like F with my head.
Right.
He was just very straightforward. And I was like, that's the long game sexy. When you have a kid and you're doing things and you're trying to, you know, it's not, you don't want that other guy. You know what I mean? And I think it was like a little bit after that, you know, she broke up, and then, you know, we got like little text, you know, whispers that her location was at Joe's for several days, you know. And they showed up to like a company party, kind of staggered, but together. And we're like, oh, this is
real. This
dating.
is happening.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is for the long haul for both of them?
I mean, I don't know. They're young, right? And it's like, can they get through the stuff? Because like, do I think they really care about each other 100%?
Sure.
Do I think they both have some personal stuff to work out?
Yeah.
You know, but I do think that because there's a major trust, which I think is like beautiful, and I hope neither one of them breaks that. They could be the long haul. They could be the forever. But I always laugh because I was like, in their generation, like mine, I feel like the girls were like, okay, so like, when am I getting the ring?
Sure.
When am I getting it? And Maddie's like, today's great. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. You know,
Right?
like, when is
Whatever.
it?
Yes.
Yeah, she's just like, I don't know, I don't like to think about even tomorrow's breakfast.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so backwards.
It's
like
so
I feel like me and all my girlfriends were like, and then this, and then the timeline is this, and then and if he's not doing this, and you need to break up with him. And she's like, today's great. I mean, I don't know if I even want a burrito for breakfast tomorrow. Don't talk to me about it. So I think it's just like a different generation of how they like approach relationships, and they're very love is love. They're very like, this is good for me now. You know, like
no pressure.
They're very no pressure. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
because I'm all about the pressure.
Totally.
And the boundaries and like the box and the, like I feel safe in there, and they're just like willy nilly all over the place. I'm like, this is you're giving me anxiety. Like what?
It seems like Emmy has a tough season coming up.
She does.
Yeah, especially with Will, the accusations again that he cheated, and you know, work-wise too. It seems like a new person comes in, kind of, you know, tries to steal her thunder a little bit.
Yeah, I think she's having a rough season. I think that she's just having a rough go at it this year. You know, I think she came in and it was all like, I'm Will's girlfriend. I kind of was like not taking her seriously. Pretty girl, I was kind of like, I feel like you're just going to distract Will, but whatever. You want to work, fine. Sure. You work over there, he'll work over there. You know what I mean? I always like strategically try to place couples separated. And then she kind of came into her own, and she was so, you know, passionate about her job and everything, but she came to a place where she lost a job because she just didn't want to go down the street to train people. And that's sort of like an indication of her personality. Like anything outside of the box for Emmy is like, no. Like you would think I asked her to go to like Kuwait. You know, it's like, it's a lockdown. It's the same stuff. Bradley's going, Joe's going, everyone's going to go train some people for 2 months, but it was like, you know, and I think that this year you see a lot of that, and I think she's trying to like, I kept telling her, I was like, you don't have to keep like making it nice. Like it's not nice. Nothing in life is nice. It's all messy, it's complicated. And I think that she gives, I think Will doesn't live that way. I think Will just does what Will wants. Which I think is a powerful way to live. But I also think Emmy, that gives her a tremendous amount of anxiety, right? Will's like, oh, I said some things I shouldn't have said. But like, it's fine. I love you. I said what I said. We move on. Emmy still lives there in that chapter. Right? Because it's like, it didn't look perfect, you know? And I think that that's the deeper thing that Emmy struggled with, work-wise, friendship-wise, you know what I mean? Like, anything that comes her way is an attack on her, you know? And I think she'll have to work that out this year. And of course, the Will of it all, I think there's a lot in that relationship where, do I think Will loves Emmy? I do. Do I think that necessarily, like, it's the way he loves her is maybe what she needs? Maybe not. You know, maybe his version of love is not what she needs. No diss to him. You know what I mean? And I definitely think that he's a pretty proud guy, and I think really admitting to like, I really messed up on this thing. I think he'll have to work on that. No relationship's gonna work unless you can, you know, like eat crow sometimes.
Exactly.
You know? It's just,
exactly.
You know, so it's like, those are the things, like they're young, and so
they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Was O'Sheen fired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say formally fired, but it was just kind of like, not a fit here.
Not a fit here. You know? Was it because of the OnlyFans thing?
No, it was more because of like the Emmy of it all. Like the, you know, I think he did something inappropriate with Emmy, and so that was that I didn't know about. So I was just like, I don't know that this is a fit for you.
Good fit for it,
Even though Emmy didn't have a problem with it, I was just like, we're really big on boundaries here.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely.
You know, you know, and the OnlyFans was just cringy. I was just like, I cannot. I can't. That was a personal no for me, but at the end of the day, I was like, O'Sheen doesn't like rules, you know? And I'm like, listen, me and you are not going to work out. The fact that you still call me babe is like, I'm not your babe.
No,
you know,
your babe
we're going down a really bad road already, and I clocked it like day one. I was like, when he was talking to me like this close, and I stepped back like 3 times, and I was like,
can't deal with this.
And then he tried to kiss me, and I was like, we don't kiss our bosses. Like when he said hello, I was like, you know, and he's like, oh, did I offend you, babe? I was like, I'm not your babe. And I'm not offended, but like I do have boundaries. You know, he is non-boundaries.
Non-boundaries.
He's like the you know, the example of that generation, but like literally cannot even like adjust.
Sure.
He's like, there's rules. It's a business. He's like, it's a club, honey.
Like, no,
it's a bar, honey. I'm like,
boss.
stop calling Leah honey, and I am not your babe, and this is not like some playground for you. You know what I mean? So he was like hitting me and Leah's last nerve. I was like, you know, and I think he knew it.
Sure.
I think he knew it.
Yeah.
And just moved on. So I don't want to say it was a fire, but it was just like
but it was a mutual decision.
Yeah,
to
this is not
working.
We're not scheduling you for shifts. You know.
Yeah. Is Mia back? I mean, I know she's back on the show.
No, she's not back. But she's like in the spaces all the time, and we're fine. She came to me and sort of like apologized about everything. She was like, I was about you know, whatever it was. I think the problem was that she just didn't have context on anything. Yeah. So you know what I mean?
Were you? Go ahead. Sorry.
It's like her intention was good, but she just didn't have all the context, and I think it just fell flat. And I think she realized like, you know, this is real, and I really actually don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, she's a lovely girl. She's doing well. She looks great. So we see her all the time.
The time.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to Vanderpump Rules getting a reboot?
I mean, it's sad. I was like a Vanderpump. You know, I feel like the only reality TV I really watch is Bravo, but I think it's such an epic show, but I think it's also good to like close out before like the magic is gone. You know what I mean? Totally. So, you know, and they're all like doing great on their own, like thriving and everything. So I feel like it was like a good place for them to just lean into all the other successes they have. So
what do you think of fans, you know, comparing Southern Hospitality to Vanderpump? And now that Vanderpump is getting this reboot, do you feel like Southern Hospitality is that great void for people that maybe haven't discovered it yet?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it could be a great void. I always say that I think it's like sort of the love child of like a Below Deck and Vanderpump, because it's like, club is so vastly different than restaurant. Like nightclub, you know what I mean? It's not like we're a lounge. We are a full-fledged nightclub, you know what I mean? And yes, we have lounges and we have restaurants, but we're talking about like, it's like game on, it's like time, you know, egos are high, people are drinking, there's a ton of people in here, glass breaking, like, you know what I mean? Like someone is gonna fly off the ship, like, so it's very different than like folding silverware, like napkins and silverware, and like, what would you like tonight? Like, would it be like a Chardonnay or a, you know, it's not that.
It's not that, no.
So I think that the OccuSeries, the occupational side of it is definitely a love child of those things. But I do think that it is young, and it's, I think with Vanderpump, it was just like fresh and raw and real, and they were just very uninhibited and green. Whereas like, I think with these kids, they just don't give a shit. Right. They're not green. They're very like Instagram savvy, and they like no, they're not. They just don't care. Yeah. They're like, the president is a reality TV star. Like, there's no limit to what I can do if I want to shake my ass on TV or say something crazy, or you know what I mean. I can do whatever, and there's no glass ceiling for me. So like, they just don't care. Sure. Yeah. They're very authentic, you know, it makes me cringe, and I get, you know, I get uncomfortable with their authenticity at times, because I'm just like, too much. Yes. Like I always say, like, this is not a doctor's appointment. Like, this is not too much. It's too much sometimes, but that's just how they live. So I think that this generation just has another thing where they just like, they don't care. Give a shit. Yeah, they don't care. So true. At all. Like, they're not like, oh, I gotta see the neighbor, blah blah. They're like, they don't care. They don't care. That's me. So I think that in itself is great, and I think that because they work together all year when the cameras are off, and they're genuinely friends, and they have like such a history, and because they have to work in this kind of like high pressure environment, it makes for a friendship that like no one else understands. You know, like you get in at 9, and by 10 o'clock you're like sweating, you're running, you're trying to like de-escalate things, you're like, and people are saving you. You know, you're like kind of getting your ass kicked. Totally. And like someone's saving you, like it builds this kind of weird bond. And then on top of that, like all your other friends are like at corporate jobs. So you're, you know, living these night jobs, and like you don't get to celebrate the holidays. Like you know, you don't get to do New Year's Eve. You do like a hospitality New Year's Eve, you know what I mean? And like, that's what we do. Like we have, everything is like, we have an extra hospitality day, you know, where we get to celebrate holidays. And so it kind of isolates you from people who aren't in that business. So it just makes for like, these weird friendships where they vacation together because they vacation what days? Sunday through Wednesday. You know, like all their friends are vacationing like Friday through Sunday or Thursday. You know what I mean? Take the Friday off.
Yeah.
So they just like get more and more embedded, you know.
I think that's why the show works.
That's
too.
why the show works.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Do you appreciate the Lisa Vanderpump comparisons?
I do. I mean, it's such a wonderful show. She's amazing. They're all amazing. I thought they were such an authentic cast. I love, and in real life, I think that they're all really like nice people. Every single one I've met isn't like kind of like douchey, like I'm on TV.
Right.
Like they're all really nice. They're all really nice. And I feel like all of them are like that. They're like, I don't really know the Toms as well, but Ariana and Lala and like everyone that I've met has just been like so great. So like I wish them the best, and I don't think that anything is to end for them. I think they're just about to get more and more successful. So yeah, it's obviously a compliment.
Of course.
Yeah, of course it is.
Well, Leva, I am so excited for these 2 shows, Southern Charm, Southern Hospitality, going to be 2 great seasons.
Thank you.
And I feel like you can come by here anytime you want. It's always so much fun talking to you.
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
Of course.